Hold on a second.
Zoom. Okay, everyone, I'm gonna start the public hearing about what I gotta do, what I'm gonna do first is read the notice of the public hearing that was published in the papers. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing pursuant to section 859-A2 of the General Municipal Law of New York State, the Act, will be held by Columbia County Industrial Development Agency on the 16th day of December 2025 at 8:30 a.m. Local time at the Village of Philmont offices located at 124 Main Street in the Village of Philmont, Town of Clover, Columbia County, New York, in connection with the following matters. 27 Summit Street LLC, a New York limited liability company, referred to as the company, submitted an application to the agency. A copy of the application is on file at the office of the agency, which application requested that the agency consider undertaking project for the benefit of the company, and the project consisted of the following. First, acquisition of the interest in 2 parcels of land containing in the aggregate approximately 2.17 acres located at 27 Summit Street, tax map 113.13-1-54, and 49 Summit Street, tax map number 113.13-1-72 in the Village of Philmont, Town of Clover, Columbia County, New York, collectively called The Land, together with an existing 3-story, approximately 32,664 square foot building and approximately 1,671 square foot building located herein, collectively known as the facility. Number 2, the renovation of the facility. And 3, the acquisition and installation therein of related fixtures, machinery, equipment, and other personal property. The land, facility, and the equipment being collectively referred to as project facility. All the foregoing to continue an event space to include parking for theater, music, and weddings with food and beverage services and any other directly or indirectly related activities to be owned and operated by the company. B, the granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of section 854-14 of the Act with respect to the foregoing, including potential exemptions from certain sales and use taxes, real property taxes, real estate transfer taxes, and mortgage recording taxes, collectively the financial assistance. And C, the lease with an obligation to purchase the sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designed by the company and agreed upon the agency. The agency originally scheduled a public hearing for this matter to be held December 2nd, 2025, but the public hearing was canceled. The agency is considering whether A, to undertake the project, and B, to provide certain exemptions from taxation with respect to the project, including 1, exemption from mortgage recording taxes with respect to any other documents, if any, recorded by the agency in respect to the project in the office of the Columbia County Clerk, New York, or whether exemption from deed transfer taxes and any real estate transfers, if any, with respect to the project. 3, exemption from sales taxes relating to the acquisition, construction, renovation, and installation of the project facility. And 4, in the event to the project facility would be subject to real property taxation if owned by the company, but shall be deemed exempt from real property taxation due to the involvement of the agency therewith. Exemption from real property taxes, but not including special assessments and special ad valorem levies, if any, with respect to the project facility, subject to the obligation of the company to make payments in lieu of taxes with respect to the project facility. If any portion of the financial assistance to be granted to the agency with respect to the project is not consistent with the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, agency will follow the procedures for deviation of such policy set forth in section 874-4 of the Act prior to granting such portion of the financial assistance. The agency determines the project with the project facility will be acquired, constructed, reconstructed, and installed by the agency and will be leased with an obligation to purchase or sold by the agency to the company or its designated purchase project agreement, requiring the company or its designate make certain payments to the agency. The agency has not yet made determination pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, CEQA Act, regarding the potential environmental impacts of this project. The agency will at said time place here all persons with the views or either the location and nature of the proposed project or the financial assistance being complemented by the agency in connection with the proposed project. A copy of the application filed by the company with the agency with respect to the project, including any analysis of the cost and benefits of the project, is available for public inspection during business hours at the office of the agency. A transcript of summary report of the hearing will be made available to members of the agency. Additional information can be obtained from, and written comments may be addressed to F. Michael Tucker, Chief Executive Officer, Columbia County Industrial Agency, 1 Hudson City Center, Suite 301, Hudson, New York, 12534, and the telephone is 518-828-4718. And we are on live with Zoom. Somebody has
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
Antonio Salisbury, representing 27 Summit LLC, has a brief presentation.
Okay.
Hi, thank you so much for meeting here this morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm Antonia Salisbury. I am part of A Squared Development. Alex Friedman, also on the call, is one of the owners. Can you hear me?
One moment, Antonio, because with sharing screen, do we want to ask our guest to come visit up to this computer?
You want to look at this?
I'll spin this around.
We only have the laptop here, Antonia.
Okay. Well, we can also just speak to the project if you guys already have visuals with you. So I forwarded the presentation along to Mike Tucker. I'll share my screen just so you all can see it. But maybe Alex, if you want to follow along and speak to the project, we can get started. Alex, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Apologize. Okay. Yeah, so we're just going to talk for 2-3 minutes, quick overview of the project before, just so everyone's kind of in tune with where we are. So yeah, this is a restoration of historic knitting mill in Philmont, about 35,000 square feet, almost 40,000 square feet. And we are A Squared Development. We have been working in Columbia County for about 7 years now, and our focus is in restoring old vacant historic buildings using historic tax credits. So on to the next slide, just a quick overview of the building. Many of you are probably familiar with it, but we're proposing to renovate the building into 2 separate spaces. One is an event space, again, as we talked about, for performing arts, weddings, exhibitions, community events, and all the above, including an outside grotto along the creek. This building sits between 2 waterfalls, really beautiful spot. There will be a commercial kitchen, and it just also, to put this in context, this building has not been rehabbed. It's an 1870s building and has been vacant and unused for about 40 years. A big blight to the community, and we're looking to restore it and bring it back to life and hopefully make it a catalyst for what's been happening in Philmont. We worked really hard to make this a sustainable building. It's all electric, solar panels. We were not able to get hydro. It's hopefully down the road we'll be able to get that 1870s hydro working again in the dam. But for now, it is carbon neutral. And we worked in this restoration to keep it as intact as possible, keeping the historic features, not covering all the beautiful brick walls with sheetrock, and again, making it accessible to the public. And we just had a meeting yesterday for DRI, New York Forward, and this really sits in the center of what's been happening at Philmont in terms of what everyone's trying to do with the new parking lot and the community center and everything else. And this is kind of a focal point of what's been going on within Philmont. Economic impact, it'll create about 57 jobs during 2 years of construction, 1 permanent job afterwards. It is worth noting that our 2 operators are going to create many more jobs, but obviously that's not in the purview of this meeting right now, but there will be an economic impact going forward for decades after the construction. And just a quick, overview of the building. We don't have much time, but there's a beautiful grotto, as you mentioned, out back. The top floor, which we'll get into in a minute, is an event. It's a nonprofit arts group that does artist in residency, as well as gallery opening, studio spaces, everything else. Our 2 partners are the Oberon Group, who works both in upstate New York and New York City. They do many beautiful spaces around the country, New York and the world, including upstate New York. Prospect Park Boathouse is one of their spots. New Museum, they have a restaurant going in, and they're really going to be a great partner in terms of they follow our goals in terms of sustainability, environmental responsibility, and have experience with beautiful spaces such as this. Loom is the nonprofit that's going on the top floor, and again, that opens up a whole nother world in terms of what's happening in terms of the creative endeavors of the community in and around Philmont and broader community. And I guess the one other thing I just want to mention, just because we are in a public hearing, there's been some comments that we've received about the fact that we're going to be paying no municipal taxes. And I'm not sure if other people want to get into this, but just to be clear, we will be paying taxes, but they'll be phased in. This is just a way to understand our tax burden and not have us hit the first year as we're trying to get up and running to kind of phase in the taxes over a certain number of years. But it's not like for this building and for a project, we'll be paying 0 municipal taxes. We'll be paying as much or more in taxes as we're paying today. It's just they get phased in terms of the increases over the next 10 years. Just to clarify for the public, because I know that was a concern that we'd be paying 0 taxes, and that's not the case in terms of municipal taxes. So that is it for our presentation.
Thank you. And if there are any slides I can revisit, or I can go ahead and stop sharing my screen, just let me know.
You can speak it on anymore. You all set with your slides?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thanks. All right, what we'll do now is anybody has anything to say, you can get up and read your comments, whatever you want to say.
The process sounds like the county is considering buying the property, say acquiring, and then restoring it, and then selling it back to them. Is that what's?
No, they're purchasing the property. That was with that. Well,
Well, Alex, do you want to address that question?
Basically,
Yeah.
the county IDA they'll transfer the property technically, and then the county leases it back as if it's not the owner. And it's for the purpose of enabling the IDA to provide tax exemptions for sales tax, mortgage tax, and real property tax based on the IDA's uniform pilot policy.
That's not really there, is it? No, that wasn't the answer that Steve was looking for.
No, I mean, because you said the agency is looking to acquire the property. The agency is the county, right? According to the.
No, the agency is the IDA, Industrial Development Agency.
Forward. We'll go forward.
You know what you were referring to this paper probably, right?
Yeah, the project facility will be acquired, constructed, reconstructed, and installed by the agency. And the agency is defined as the county, the beginning of this, the County Development Board. And then will be leased by the agency to the company. So who's gonna own the property?
the. No, the Summit, Mikey there?
Mike, there's a question as to who the agency is.
You might be outside. Mike Tucker's.
Anthony, I think I'm mute.
Mike, you're on mute. Oh, Mike is gone. Um,
There we go. Mike, there's a question.
The agency was established by New York state law. The members of the agency are appointed by the chair of the Board of Supervisors, but it is a separate independent entity from Columbia County.
Okay, but so the people who bought, somebody bought the mill.
The folks on the phone bought the mill.
Okay,
They're going to transfer title to the county, IDA, not Columbia County.
You're right.
The IDA is going to lease it back to them for 10 years. And during that time, they'll be proposed that they receive a payment in lieu of tax agreement, consistent with the agency's standard pilot policy. This has been done for a number of other projects, both in Hudson and in the county.
So the legal owner of the property will be the IDA.
Right. It'll be leased back to the company who has responsibility for the development, construction, paying the taxes, operating facility.
well, it says here that the agency will do the reconstruction.
It, in the lease, it transfers that obligation on back to the company. I apologize, I went to the Valatia Town Hall in the state.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I have a. So what about, is the more, but this is also for the operator, owner, the developer. The liability is shared with the agency and the developer, or it's all
No,
the developer?
The developer, under the lease agreement, completely indemnifies the industrial development agency from any liabilities.
Oh, okay. Next part of that is that assumes that, they take a 1.5, 2-year construction plan. My question was, on pay grades way above my level here, is the mortgage for the developers contingent upon your involvement?
My understanding is that the project can't proceed without the incentives that are being provided or proposed by the IDA,
Okay.
so that the project would not go forward without the IDA participation. And it's primarily sales tax. The developer would receive approximately $190,000 in real property tax exemption.
We discussed this last week. I have no.
But at the same time, over the 10 years, right now they're receiving $80,000 in taxes between the 4 municipalities, county, town, village, and school district. Under this agreement, they will pay $526,000 over 10 years. Without the IDA's involvement, they would pay about $190,000 more. And the village gets 30% of that. They would receive a mortgage tax exemption of $170,000. That's 50% to the state, 25 to the county, and 25 to the town. And the sales tax, 8% on construction materials, saves them $800,000. So it's basically $1.1 million on their total project, which is less than 5%.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, the IDA receives a $200,000 fee. And, as I said, instead of $80,000 a year in taxes over the next 10 years, the four taxing jurisdictions will receive 526,000. And if it, and as you know, there has not been a lot of interest in that project. We did look at it with a company for affordable housing, and that didn't, the numbers didn't work out in terms of the adaptive reuse. Obviously, this adaptive reuse is more open space than it would be to put apartments in, and those developers didn't go forward.
So Mike, Mayor Johnson couldn't make it today. I'm Doug Crawford, deputy mayor, so he had a few concerns, we both do. There's no guarantee that written that the project will actually go through to completion. What would happen if it were to stall?
Well, they would get, they'd have to pay back any benefits that they received up until that point in time. So they were halfway through and they had gotten $200,000 in sales tax benefit, they'd have to pay that back.
And is that written down somewhere?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I mean, the far by my pay grade too is about 2 inches of legal documents.
Okay, I mean, this is the only paper we have.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, no, I understand.
What if the project is completed, but that the group does not go through with the intended use that we've been told is going to happen?
Again, there'd be recapture under the IDA's recapture policy, which I can send to you.
Would that include a full-time commercial for-profit restaurant? Would that mean the project is not going through if they had to not do events, but had to do a commercial enterprise that includes seating and dining?
I'd have to get back to you on that I have to talk to the
I'll put that in
lawyers.
a written question then.
Yeah.
Who's the watchdog of this stuff?
The IDA.
So you come and inspect the property certain intervals?
Well, they have to give a annual report for 10 years. They have to provide, they'll be paying their pilot payment to the IDA, which then disperses it to the taxing jurisdictions.
So somebody comes and observes what's happening. What if you were to come in, 2028 and then, okay, they're moving along, then you go to
I
2029
think that,
and nothing has happened?
well, they have 3 years from the date of approval to start construction.
Start construction.
I'm sorry, 2 years. It's 2 years. 2-year window.
Oh, wow.
But no one waits that long. If they wait that long, the project is dead.
Their construction loan becomes
Yes. It's
unprofitable.
right.
Understood.
Now, I think that as long as whatever their use is, that is within your zoning, but I will
It
check,
is.
I will check with, but if there was an alternate use, I'll check as to what process has to be taken. Or,
Yeah, because that would be a surprise.
but I think that would go more,
They don't have enough, they don't have enough event days,
yeah,
hired days, and then they have to go
I
to.
think that would go back to what the approvals from the planning board were, rather than the IDA.
Okay, so there's a little layers here that I have to,
Because the IDA
Yeah.
doesn't move forward on any project unless the local planning board approves the project.
Correct, it's gotta go through the local agencies. And, you
I'm chair of the zoning board. Nothing was ever brought to the zoning board about this whatsoever.
Was it necessary? I don't know if it was required.
Is it? Okay, now, our zoning law states very clearly with parking. Section 160.13, off-street parking, required parking and loading spaces shall be provided upon the same lot as the use or structure to which they are accessory. Further down in that same paragraph, in no event shall such parking and loading spaces for non-residential use be located in any residence district. And then at the end of that paragraph, notwithstanding any provision, excuse me, to the contrary, parking and loading spaces for non-residential use in the mill district may be on any adjoining parcel, regardless of whether or not it is within a residential district. So the zoning law is very specific about that particular property. There's a process for getting variance. Supposedly they were granted a waiver here. But from my understanding, that's not how the waiver process works.
Well,
The
that,
waiver process just
That would be back-
eliminate a zoning.
But who granted the waiver?
Nobody, I've been through the paper, nobody asked for the waiver. I was told that by the village attorney that the waiver, because of the waiver process, no variance was necessary.
So that would go back to your zoning law. We're not,
Hold on, but I'm just saying, I'm just expressing my own dissatisfaction with this process.
but we weren't part of that
no,
process.
No, I
Yeah,
understand
okay.
that.
so your planning agency did all right now.
I think I'd have to politely refer you back to the
I
village
understand,
attorney and.
I
the planning
understand
board.
that. I
Yeah,
just want.
I appreciate you putting it on the record.
Anybody else have any comments?
I do think there is an issue that, will have to be resolved, because my understanding is that the village has passed section 444A of the real property tax law, which provides exemptions that are more attractive for the village tax aspect than the IDA could provide. So we have to determine, in other words, my understanding is you've already approved for any project that meets the criteria of historic adaptive reuse provision that there's zero tax on the improvement for 5 years. And then it goes, you pay 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, and 100%. But even under that model, they will be paying tax as if on the current value of the property for those 5 years or those 10 years. But the incentive that you've already approved at the village level is greater than what the IDA would have provided. But we are verifying that the village in fact passed that incentive previous work. But there is that.
I've gone back to the minutes to look at, I do remember that, but I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I've got to go back and I'm gonna, again, our position is if that's in place, it's already exempt, so we're not gonna exempt it again.
But was it in place for a different project? I don't remember.
My understanding is that when it's passed, it's for any project that meets the state criteria for it, but that is a nuance. But even under that provision, they still would pay tax, the full tax on the property as currently assessed. And that includes both parcels, assuming that it's appropriate without a waiver or a zoning variance.
As far as us, the IDA, we can't step in until they have all their clearances and everything's done. And so if there is any specific problem that comes up or questions, that's what the public hearing's for.
And see, I think the benefit of the benefits that the developers seek through IDAs, this included, but generally, the intent of the IDA is to ensure that there's a 1.9 times benefit here. In other words, over the 10 years using present value so that we're leveling out the time use of money, that the value of the incentives, the value of the benefit from future taxes, it will be, in this case, 2 to 1 from what they're asking for. And, that includes, we don't get into the employment and we don't get into the value of the sales tax as a going concern, because that's, you could all guess what that might be, and that would throw those numbers off. But when you look at the fact that you're taking a property that's getting $80,000 a year in taxes, and even under the guaranteed pilot agreement, they're going to pay $526. There is a benefit. And with the village, however, it's subject to this other provision that I think you may have already passed, but we have to wait and see how that plays out.
Okay, then, no other questions? That's it. Call an end to the meeting. Close the meeting. 9:03.
Wait, I do think we need to, is Rob your village attorney?
Rob.
Yeah. Well, why don't we get a call with you and the mayor and yourself and